Hi again then guys, and welcome to another installment of a tuning series which we haven't visited in quite some time now, Sleeper Spec. So for those of you who have joined the channel since we last did an episode, basically what we do in this tuning series is we take a car which doesn't necessarily need to be a sleeper car as such, because this is a sleeper tune. It's not about sleeper cars, because we take that vehicle, it could even be a muscle car, a sports car, a supercar, and then we tune it in such a way that it actually gets significantly better around the track in terms of the lap times that it can achieve, the handling that it has, but crucially, we do not alter the visuals, the PP, the power, or the weight. So to all intents and purposes, and to anything but the most trained eye, it looks completely stock. Now, of course, you still can enter events that don't allow tuning because it is a tuned car. So it's more of a gimmick, more of a novelty, fun factor kind of thing. But for this particular build, we're covering the Mitsubishi Evo X. Now, I have upgraded the tyres slightly to sports softs instead of sports hards, but that's not a massive difference anyway, and you don't necessarily need to do that. As far as the brakes, we have upgraded those to racing brakes, and that's actually one of the only ways that you can tell that this isn't stock, which is why I said you'd have to have a trained eye, you'd have to know what you were looking for. Average Joe in an online lobby isn't going to see that, isn't going to notice that. As far as suspension, we're running the same ride height as stock, 125mm on the front, 135 on the rear. We've increased the springs to 7 and 450 on the stiffness, the dampers to 4, anti-roll on 3, we've got neutral camber and tow. You can have some if you want to, but it's just not really necessary for this car. As far as the diff, we've got 5 on initial torque on the front, or on the back I should say, and 10 on the front. That's a personal thing for me, I like doing that to the Evo and the Impreza. You don't necessarily need to though, so I'll leave that down to you of course. Acceleration and braking, as you can see, I've got as high as possible. I have upgraded the prop shaft. You could upgrade even the clutch and flywheel if you want to, but it's not entirely necessary. You might as well, but you don't have to. For the centre split, as you can see, I've gone for 30-70. You could take it even lower on the front end if you want to, but I'd say it feels pretty much perfect, at least for my personal driving style. Of course, don't upgrade anything in terms of power, don't even give it an oil change because that will affect the numbers. And as far as weight, again, don't do anything to it at all. So then as far as the gearbox on this particular car, this is the second way that a trained eye, or rather a trained ear, would be able to tell that this isn't stock, because of course the race gearbox has straight cut gears and therefore makes a whining noise which the normal car doesn't have. So you'd have to know again what you were listening for to notice that. Most people aren't going to notice that. So you could leave it stock, but what I've done is move the auto setting to 162. Then, as you can see, we've kind of tightened up the gear set a bit to 3, 2.1, 1575, 1250, 1025 and 875 with a final drive of 3.7, and that gives you better acceleration on this car overall. So that's it for the tune. It's a relatively simple one, as these sleeper spec builds usually are. So now the real question is, how much quicker does it make it? Well, let's go out to Suzuka to find out. Now, for those of you guys who have seen these tunes before, you'll probably know that I usually like to take them on much bigger tracks, something like the full Nordschleife circuit for instance, because that allows you to see such a huge difference in lap time potential. Sometimes you can make a car which looks and sounds and appears totally stock, as all of these tunes do, go 30 or 40 seconds quicker around the full Nürburgring Nordschleife circuit. That's amazing. On a smaller track though, you don't typically see those kind of huge number improvements. Of course not, that would be ridiculous. However, on this occasion, there's a pretty huge difference between the lap times, and I wasn't holding back necessarily in the stock version. I was pushing it and then pushing the tuned version as well, and the difference was pretty impressive. As you can see here in the video, the initial lap is a 2:27.8. That's in the stock car. In the tuned version, it does it in 2:20.955, so close enough to 7 seconds quicker. It's still only got sports softs, no power increase, no decrease in weight, and the exact same PP level. Visually as well, as we said, it doesn't really look any different unless you know what you're looking for. So to have such a huge difference around a track like Suzuka, which at the end of the day isn't really a huge track by anyone's standards, shows the kind of potential that this particular car has when you do this sort of tune to it. So I would be very interested for any of you guys who do try out this tune at what it can do around the Nordschleife, because I haven't tested it there, especially in comparison to the normal version. I would not be at all surprised if you're looking at over 40 seconds, maybe even around a minute quicker. That might be pushing it a bit, but around 40 seconds wouldn't surprise me at all. So if you do decide to use this tune, I hope you enjoy it, of course, and there are plenty more in this tuning series to check out in the playlist at the end of the video. But for now, as always, thanks for watching.